Welcome to HorrorBabble. Today's reading will be another tale by the elusive British author M.D. Vickers. The Punch and Judy Show. The Punch and Judy Show. I've not seen one of them for ages, thought Christine Herriot. She was gazing at the reverse of a striped, rectangular booth in the middle of Blackpool Beach. Shaking her head in nostalgic awe, she led her two children towards the Punch and Judy Show. Several parents and their kids already gathered round. The weather was a touch overcast, but still warm. Every so often, there would be a cloud break, and the sun would disperse its warmth onto the gleeful holidaymakers. It looked like another bout was imminent. Arriving at the expanding grouping, Christine negotiated her son and daughter, 9-year-old Andrew and 6-year-old Hannah, to a good vantage point on the sand. Then, the sun did break through again, just as the curtains drew aside in the Punch and Judy booth. Hannah began to clap her hands excitedly. Andrew's eyes were perfectly round in their sockets as he stared at the slowly rising figure inside. "Punch!" he exclaimed enthusiastically as recognition dawned. "He certainly is," Christine returned, observing the rest of the crowd's reactions. "That's the way to do it," the macabre hooked-nosed doll suddenly voiced. Cheers went up in the by now large audience. Next to Punch, Judy then appeared. More cries and gasps ensued. "Where's the baby, Punch?" she inquired. "I don't know," returned the evil-looking puppet. "Oh, really, Punch? You're useless. I'll go and look for her." Judy then vanished down below, resurfacing seconds later with a blanket-swathed bundle. "Here she is, Punch. Would you like to hold her?" "No, I wouldn't." Punch then withdrew the baton and began to wield it menacingly. It was then that the crocodile appeared. Its jaws gaping, it began to advance on Judy and the baby. "This is the way to do it," Punch bellowed, and proceeded to pommel the hapless reptile with his weapon. Several children began to laugh. Some began to cry. Andrew and Hannah did neither. They just stared. 6 or 7 blows later, Punch ceased his savage beating. There were blood flecks on the inside of the booth, and several of the crocodile's teeth had hurtled into the crowd. "This is a bit too realistic," Christine mused to herself. Punch was now advancing on his partner, the blood-soaked club held ponderously aloft once more. "No, Punch!" Judy screamed. It was to no avail. The baton was savagely bashed around her head, the baby unravelling from its toweling and rolling along the counter. "That's the way to do it! That's the way to do it!" Many more of the children were sobbing now. Christine began to usher her two away from the horrific scene, but they didn't want to go. They seemed utterly transfixed. Hannah's facade looked about to crack, however. Christine picked her up and turned her head away from the ongoing carnage. Judy's piercing screams were now joined by the baby's wails as the club rained repeatedly down on it. "Way to do it! That's the way to do it!" The baby fell to the sand, where it twitched briefly before becoming still. Judy was currently being swatted around the confines of the enclosure, each sickening crack accompanied by a spray of blood. The disbelieving audience was rapidly dispersing as the scene became more and more grisly. "Hello, hello, hello! What have we here, then?" The policeman had appeared and landed a blow on Punch's huge nose with his truncheon. "Fucking pig!" Punch vehemently spat, and struck the officer of the law across the bridge of his own nose. The policeman fell backwards. "Take that, and that, and that!" Punch's baton was driven repeatedly downwards. thick grunts the only sign that the constable was still alive, if puppets could indeed be classed as alive. "That's more than enough," Christine Herriot breathed through clenched teeth. Frog-marching Andrew towards the booth, she approached the back flaps, motivated by sheer rage that a children's entertainer could put on something as vile and gruesome as this. Wrenching the left flap aside, her anger immediately abated upon the sight before her. There were no hands involved. Indeed, there was no entertainer, just a small ladder leading up from the floor to the display area 5 feet above. With a scream building up in her throat, she clawed frantically at the canvas, the stench of blood in the booth making her gag. Punch finished his merciless attack on the policeman and turned round, raising his club for what must have been the umpteenth time that day. "That's the way to do it," he said dutifully, and brought it down with all the force he could muster. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this reading, follow the links on screen to other readings here at HorrorBabble. Until next time,